As Alex has mentioned, oh, thank you. As Alex has mentioned, this is where we first met. It's at the corner of Bosley and Allegheny. And next picture, please. This is what it looks like now. It looks actually a little better than when we were there. But you will see that it is now a State Farm insurance office. Okay. This is the first building that we had for Sunday school. It's 117 Allegheny. You can see a little bit in the back. It's the tail end of the Calvary Baptist Church. Actually, what is directly behind where this was is ACTC that this church has been supporting for years. Next. This is what it is now. So if that orients you a little bit. Okay. This is the rummage sale that we had to raise money. And Phyllis Van Buiten and Eleanor Kaufman ran the whole thing. And the Pettyjohns have been mentioned already, spent the night in the tents so that nobody would come and take all our wonderful things. And I can remember, I was treasurer that time, I can remember coming home and laying out $3,000 on my dining room table. But anyhow, that's directly across from what was then the Towson Mall. Okay? And that's what's there now, is the Sheraton and Eden Mall. Okay. One of the things that happened, this is Dave McPherson, our first minister, who came in '62 in the back, and the street is Delaney Valley Road. And one of the things that happened, and I should also tell you, Dorothy Pettyjohn is in the front left. But anyhow, one of the things that happened was that people, we would say, oh yes, we're going to build someday. And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we had to bring the people out to the site so that they would believe us, okay? So this was one service that we had, okay? This is the tree planting that we did 40 years ago in October. And I don't know if you can see how small these little seedlings are. The people, that's Dave McPherson with the pipe and Becky Duffy, who was one of the kids in the Sunday school. The house is still there, okay? That's what it looks like now. This is the top of the hill here. You know, so, okay, the other picture of that. Okay, so you see how much they have grown. The people that lived in that house actually came out and watered the plants for us during the summer so they wouldn't die. I guess they wanted to have some shielding from us also. Okay, this is 406 West Pennsylvania. It's on the corner of Pennsylvania and Highland. We had offices there, we had Sunday school there, and the young people painted the basement black and had all these fluorescent light things that when you walked in would show the light. And in order to get in there, you know, there were the storm cellar doors, so you had to go in through those doors. And there would be people that came from all around. I remember Dave McPherson telling me one time, somebody had called him and he said, I'm from Connecticut and I think my daughter is going to be in Towson this weekend. Would you try to get her to call me? So it was, we had Sunday school there for many years, and we also had Sunday school in Peggy Harriet's basement. Next. And at the Y. Okay. And at Timonium Elementary School. Now the reason we finally went to Timonium Elementary School is a couple of reasons. First of all, people were dropping their kids at each one of these places and then having to go and pick them up afterwards, and we really all wanted to be together. The second reason was that we thought we were going to be building very soon, and we wanted to, as I say, be together. We met in the multi-purpose room. We had our services there, and the Sunday school was in the library, and in one case was actually in the dead-end hall. Before, okay, you can shut it down. Thank you, Jason. But before we went to Timonium Elementary, we flirted with the idea. We knew, as Alex has mentioned, we never had any money, and we knew that we wanted to build. So we thought and worked with Epiphany Episcopal Church on Pot Spring Road that we would build them a building for their Sunday school, which they could also use, and they would let us use their sanctuary for our services. Well, what happened, our congregation voted 100% for it. And their congregation, we actually had a reporter or a spy or whatever you want to call it, that was at the meeting and came back and said they had voted it down. One lady had stood up and said, my ex-daughter-in-law was a UU, we don't want them. Another one had said, I'm sure they're going to move the cross off the altar, and that did it in completely. The other thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, thank you, is this shovel. As you can imagine, well, let's go ahead a little bit. We already had this land, which we bought in 1960? 62, we bought the land and called the minister, both at the same time. We always were ambitious. You probably have seen this shovel sitting out there and wondered what in the world was the story behind it. It says groundbreaking September 12th, 1971. And what I want to tell you about is how it came to be and why it's a symbol of hope that Claire spoke of. As I said before, we did not go in with the Epiphany Episcopal Church. Then the question was, what should we do now? So we hired an architect named Hugh Newell Jacobson. He was a Washington architect. He went on to design for Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. He designed the most gorgeous thing you ever saw. All these little tiny small buildings nestled in the side of the hill and something on top. And for what was the youth group was called the LRY, and the Liberal Religious Youth. And for them, he had an octagonal building with cushions all around the edge, and in the middle there was like an open pit for a fireplace. And the whole thing was gorgeous. We said, we have $150,000. He said, $1 million. Wow. So we said, redesign. Yeah. So he redesigned, and we said 150. He got it down to about 2.25, I think, although Ed may remember a better figure than that, I don't know. But anyhow, we never could afford it. So we fired him. So then here we are at Tamoon Elementary, expecting to be over here with the buildings finished, and we don't have an architect, we don't have anything. At this point, Nyon and Bob Stauffenberg gave this groundbreaking shovel to the congregation because they believed that we would indeed someday have a building. And then Francis Pettyjohn, who you've heard a lot about today, Francis and Mark Beck, who was an architect who was a member of our congregation, invited me to come and have lunch at the Hopkins Club. And Mark said he would lead a charrette. It was a weekend thing in which the members of this church designed this building ourselves under Mark's leadership. It has already been expanded once from about where this exit sign is on up. And I think it will probably be expanded again in the future.
Work okay, Alice?
Yeah, I hear you.
Can hear it.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
I did speak earlier today, and I considered not speaking at this time. It was my understanding there would be an honorarium of the order of $2,000.